morning, children. I'm going to continue the lesson Reaping Gold from Soil. In the last 2-3 classes, we learned about the different types of vegetative propagation we can conduct on the plants so that we may get good quality plants and good quality seeds. Now, we have good quality plants and also we have good quality seeds. But is that only enough for the growth of plants? If we have good quality seeds, will we get a nice and healthy plant? Are there any other factors which affects the growth of plants? Yes, isn't it? We have learned in the earlier classes, in the beginning of the lesson, we have gone through the different factors which are essential for the growth of plants. So one among them is the soil in which we cultivate the plants. So what is essential for quality growth? We need the quality of the soil should also be good and favorable. So, to increase the quality of plants or to increase the quality of the soil, what are the things that we can do? We know that if we go on doing cultivation in a particular area, the quality of the soil will normally decrease. So, it will affect the growth of plants. So, what are the things we can do to increase the quality of the soil? You must have heard about putting debris in the soil where the plants are cultivated. What do you mean by debris? Debris is the waste of the plant materials after harvesting. For example, if you are harvesting paddy or pea or any other vegetables after harvesting, after the plant dies, the same waste of the plants, the balance, the roots and the leaves, all that is dumped into the same field. And what happens after that? Yes, we know, we have already learned that the dead plants and animals can become a manure for the soil. So when it becomes manure for the soil, it decomposes and it becomes nutrients for the soil, which helps in the growth of plants. So the nutrients provided by one kind of plant debris is not the same supplied by another. So one type of plant debris, if you put in the soil, it is not the same nutrient which is given by another type of plant. Okay. There are few methods followed by the farmers to ensure maximum diversity in agriculture. So the farmers, they take in certain things or they do certain things so that the fertility of the soil increases or the nutrients in the soil increases, which can be helpful for the plants to grow. One method of that is intercrop. What is the meaning of intercrop? Intercrop means you must have seen in certain areas or sometimes you will be doing in your own house. If you have a coconut palm or a coconut a compound full of coconuts where we are having coconut cultivation or we are having arecanut cultivation, in the base around the coconut palm, you would have seen people cultivating other types of vegetables also. This method is called as intercrop, or where there is tapioca cultivation, in between we know there will be a gap. So in those inter gaps, farmers will cultivate other types of crops, minor crops, such as it can be amaranthus or it can be any other small vegetables, or it can be even the grass food which is needed for the cattle, food for the cattle. Okay, so such things are called as intercrop. So what is the meaning of intercrop? Short-term crops cultivated among the main crop such a way that they do not harm the main crop. They are called as intercrops. So these crops do not harm the main crops. So the main crops are what? It can be coconut, arecanut, rubber, tapioca, sugarcane. All these are main crops. So in between the main crops, small crops can be cultivated, but it does not affect the main crop. Why? Because if other plants are cultivated, what happens? It will take in the nutrients which are in the soil which are needed for the main crops. So that will not work. So they cultivate small crops so that it does not harm the main crop. Such type of cultivation is called as intercrop cultivation. The next method is crop rotation. What is the meaning of crop rotation? Now, if the farmers go on cultivating the same crop again and again and again, what will happen? The nutrients of the soil will become lesser and lesser. Is it clear? If you cultivate the same crop again and again, or 2, 3 times, or 4 times, or 5 times, the nutrients of the soil will get over. Then we will not get a good yield. So what do the farmers do? They do crop rotation. From the word itself, you must have understood what is crop rotation. What is crop rotation? Once we cultivate paddy in the field, the next interterm, before you cultivate the next term of paddy, in between they cultivate other types of vegetables, such as it can be amaranthus or pea cultivation or black gram or such things they cultivate. So what happens there? Extra nutrients are provided to the soil by these small crops, which will increase the fertility of the soil. So in that interval, if the fertility of the soil is increased, then when you put the next cultivation of paddy or wheat, you will get a good yield. So that type of cultivation is called as crop rotation. So what is crop rotation? Cultivating a different crop instead of the crop cultivated earlier is called as crop cultivation. So in between the paddy cultivation, they cultivate pea or black gram or any other plant which gives more fertility to which increases the fertility of the soil.
Crop rotation. Some places are suitable for cultivation of only few crops. For example, in India, rice is grown in approximately 34% of the overall crop territory of the country. To get maximum yield, farmers grow same type of crop at same place again and again. This leads to reduction in availability of nutrients. But growing different crops can help retain nutrients. There are plants which are home to microorganisms that convert atmospheric nitrogen gas to nutrient. Leguminous plants have root nodes which are home to bacteria such as rhizobium. These bacteria depend on plants for food, and in exchange, they convert atmospheric nitrogen to nitrogen nutrients. Plant and bacteria form a symbiotic relationship. Some nutrients get absorbed by plants and rest mixes in soil. Gram, groundnut, wheat are examples of leguminous plants. When a different crop is grown after the crop of leguminous plants, excessive nutrients, which were mixed in soil, are utilized by it. Cultivation of different crops at a place in different seasons is known as crop rotation. Crop rotation results in increment of soil fertility.
Now, how does this intercrop cultivation or crop rotation method increase the fertility of the soil? For that, there are certain plants. They are called as leguminous plants. What is the meaning of leguminous plants? We all know that plants need nitrogen for their growth. So nitrogen is a main element which is necessary for the plants to grow. You have learnt in 5th standard, certain plants are there which are carnivorous plants, isn't it? Why do those plants become carnivorous plants? Why are they called so? They are called so because they feed on small insects, isn't it? Why do they trap the insects? Do they feed it on? They trap the insect and they squeeze it in such a way that the nitrogen content in the body of the insect is absorbed directly into the plant. So there we saw such carnivorous plants grows in area where there is less nitrogen or no nitrogen in the soil. So nitrogen is essential for the plant. So what do? They trap the insects and they squeeze out the nitrogen content of the body of the insect which is trapped. Same way, all the other plants need nitrogen for the soil for its proper growth. So if nitrogen level is less in the soil, what happens? They cannot give a proper yield or the plants cannot grow properly. So the plants, they cannot absorb the atmospheric nitrogen. We know that nitrogen and oxygen and different types of gases are present in the air. But the plants cannot absorb the nitrogen which is in the soil. They can absorb carbon dioxide, they can absorb oxygen, but they cannot absorb the nitrogen in the air. So what happened? The nitrogen in the air is absorbed, okay, into the soil, and it mixes, the nitrate in the soil mixes with the water, and that is what is absorbed by the plants. So there are certain bacteria which can convert the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates. Such bacteria is called as rhizobium. What is it called as? Rhizobium. So the plants cannot absorb the atmospheric nitrogen directly, but they absorb the nitrate salts dissolved in water. Some bacteria can convert the atmospheric nitrogen to nitrate. So rhizobium is one such bacterium. They live in the roots of certain plants. So this rhizobium bacterium lives in the roots of certain plants. Which are those plants? P. Mimosa. Mimosa is what? Touch me not. I have a touch me not in my hand because I touched it close. You know which is this? Tottavadi. Touch me not. Then cochineal or turfosia. Horsegram. Black gram. What is horsegram? Last year we learned mudira. Black gram. Okay. And so these, what do? The rhizobium in these plants contain rhizobium bacteria. Where is it? They live in the roots of the plant. This is a touch me not plant. Here you can see the root of this plant, isn't it? In the root of the plant, here you can see small round things here in the root. Okay. These type of roots are called as leguminous roots. So the rhizobium bacteria is there in these nodules which are found in the roots of such plants. Here also you can see in the roots here you can see small nodules here, isn't it? So these nodules in the roots of such plants like pea, horsegram, touch me not, all these contain the rhizobium bacterium. So when these plants decay, So if we do cultivation of such plants, when these plants decay, what happens? The nutrients, plant nutrients are added to the soil. So that is why they do intercropping or crop rotation they do. So if such plants are taken for intercropping and crop rotation, what do? They increase the nutrient of the soil. That means the nitrogen contained will increase in the soil because there is rhizobium bacteria present in the nodules of these plants, which has the ability to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrate and mix it with the soil. And the other plants which needs nitrogen, what do? They absorb the nitrate along with the water through the roots, and that is how they grow. The picture of a farmer is given there, isn't it, in your textbook? What is the farmer telling there? There should be no weeds. Weedicides can be used. There should be no diseases or pests. Pesticides should be sprayed. There should be no fall in the yield. Chemical fertilizers should be added as well. What can you understand from the thoughts of these farmer? We know not only planting materials or good soil is essential for the proper growth of the plant, but also we know that there will be insects and pests which will be attacking the plants. So the plants also can have diseases. So to avoid all these, what do the farmers do? They spray pesticides. They use chemical fertilizers for the proper growth of the plant. Now, is this usage of pesticide and chemical fertilizers good for us? Should we promote the use of fertilizers and pesticides? Why is it so? We all know that it is harmful for the nature, isn't it? There you can see a write-up given up, a reading material given. What is that? Fukuoka. Fukuoka was a person. He is a researcher in organic farming from Japan. So he has given a write-up. For man's survival, we should return to nature. It is man who is destroying forest, the springs and the fertility of the soil of the earth. Such environmental destruction should be stopped if all living organisms, including man, are to be saved. Biofertilizers are an elixir to the soil deadened by use of chemical fertilizers. They catalyze life and retain the fertility of the soil. Our aim should be to make land cultivable rather than a desert. So he is an organic farming researcher. So what does he say? Due to the usage of chemical fertilizers, we can be destroyed, the earth can be destroyed, the spring and the fertility of the earth can be destroyed. So how can we stop this? We have to use biofertilizers instead of using chemical fertilizers so that we can retain the fertility of the soil. So it should become an elixir for the soil. What is an elixir? Elixir is something we help in the growth of some organism. Okay, like what is essential? Elixir. Water is an elixir of life. It is very essential. Water is very essential. We cannot live. So soil also is essential. We cannot live without soil. So biofertilizers are also elixirs. We cannot live without biofertilizers because soil cannot live without biofertilizers because it increases the fertility of the soil. So our aim should be to maintain the fertility of the soil by using biofertilizers. Now, which are the different biofertilizers that we use or we can use? Certain biofertilizers are given in your textbook. One such is tobacco decoction. You must have heard about tobacco decoction. Most of us are doing vegetable cultivation at home nowadays, even in small pots, 2 or 3 pots we are doing because we are at home. So there we can use these biofertilizers instead of using chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So what is tobacco decoction? Tobacco, you know, or pogila, what you say, isn't it? What you use for making cigarettes, and for chewing we use tobacco. So that can be used in making biofertilizers. So the process is given in your textbook. 1 kg of tobacco is cut into small pieces. They are soaked in 15 liters of water. After that, they are filtering it, and they dissolve 100 gram of scrapped soap, washing soap, into it and stir it well. Then it is diluted with double quantity of water, and that is sprayed to the
Quite often, kitchen gardens of homesteads get infested with pests. Applying biopesticides to control these pests are effective and safe. Tobacco decoction is a biopesticide which is very effective for controlling aphids and other soft-bodied insects infesting vegetable crops. This can easily be prepared at home and is very cost-effective. We need 50 grams of tobacco waste and 12 grams of ordinary bar soap. Nicotine has to be separated from tobacco. Soap solution serves as an adhesive for the pesticide to stick on the plant. Steep 50 grams of tobacco in half a liter of water. Cut 12 grams of soap into small flakes and dissolve in 50 ml of water separately in another vessel. Keep both the solutions for 24 hours. After 24 hours, squeeze and remove the tobacco and sieve the decoction. Stir and dissolve the soap well and sieve the soap solution. The soap solution is added to tobacco decoction under violent agitation. The resultant solution is the tobacco decoction used as biopesticide. Dilute this stock solution 6 to 7 times before spraying.
We know tobacco is not harmful for us, and soap is also not harmful for us. It is not harmful for the plants also. Okay, so this is one method of preparing a pesticide. There is other thing also, the neem cake emulsion is there. So that also neem cake emulsion, the process is given in your textbook. So these are two pesticides which we can see. I will be giving you a list of more pesticides which can be made at home itself. Now we are going into the biofertilizers. So chemical fertilizers, other chemical pesticides can be replaced by tobacco decoction and neem emulsion, and biofertilizers, that is chemical fertilizers, can be replaced by biofertilizers. Which are the biofertilizers that we can have around us? Yes, cow dung, then green manure, compost manure, fish manure, poultry droppings, goat droppings, bone meal. These are the different types of biofertilizers which is available, and this is provided to us through the Krishi Bhavan, isn't it? Krishi Bhavan and different other societies, they provide us with all these things. So these are the biofertilizers which can be replaced by the chemical fertilizers which we normally use. What is the need for using biofertilizers biofertilizers and biopesticides. So from this class you would have understood that. So what are we to do? Write down the need of using biofertilizers and biopesticides instead of using chemical pesticides and chemical fertilizers, and write it in your science note. Now down you can see an interview conducted by a girl with a farmer. Beena is conducting an interview with a farmer. How are pests that destroys crop eliminated? So the farmer is telling, I usually use tobacco decoction to kill the worms that feed on the leaves. Are there alternative methods of pest control? Pests can be removed by hand picking. Organisms like calots, frog and mabia eat of many of the pets. So there are organisms in the soil itself which can eat of the pets. So drip irrigation is a method of irrigation. Will you please explain? Drip irrigation, you know what is drip irrigation? Little by little water is given to the soil so that always the water content of the soil is not lost. So that system is called as drip irrigation. So at regular intervals. So you will have many questions like this to ask the farmer, isn't it? Many questions like this you will have to ask the farmer. So prepare some questions which you can use for interviewing a farmer, and write it down in your notebook. So this portion what I have taken for you, please go through that, find out the things what you can write in the notebook, write those notes, prepare the questionnaire for interview of a farmer and send it to me. Thank you, children.